to 6 at the beginning of the game, and that is 6 free extra actions that you can
Ooh.
use through the game. That's an incredibly strategic element. Like, the timing of when you use those free actions is huge in this game. So, for you, along with your, 30 actions
Right.
during the game plus those 6, you could have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I wanna know if anybody else is like me. Like, in real life, so not cheap. Literally anyway, Suzanne knows. If I want something, I just buy it. Do I really need all of these electronics? No,
You're
but I
also a
have
very
them all.
generous person too.
I try, but when I play games, I like to hold on to my money.
Your inner Scrooge comes out.
It does. I don't know why. So Empire might be a thing for me. I might have to try this.
It's time for the Sultan Sass podcast when we share our love for the wonderful world of board games with you, whether you're a gaming veteran or just starting your tabletop journey. I'm Suzanne,
And I'm Mandy.
and welcome to episode 9, everybody. And I messed that up, but oh well.
Did you?
It's gonna be one of those shows. I'm gonna be real upfront with you, Mandy. I'm not feeling well today, like at all. So hope you're ready to sing a lot of songs to keep people entertained.
Oh, good. So the wildness is not going to be on my end, is what you're saying.
No pressure, no pressure. We hope everybody has had a good holiday. Everybody who celebrated Hanukkah, everybody who celebrated Christmas, everybody who celebrated the new year. We're back. It's 2023. Wow, that's wild. Time flies.
It is wild. And I'm going to jump in and say thank you for all the well wishes that I received and the recipes that I received for a variety of holiday treats.
Recipes for what,
Okay,
Mandy?
I'm not even saying it. So it's funny because everyone was saying it the way you were saying it, which was, Suzanne,
Latkes.
latkes. But then someone else commented on them hearing somebody speak about they pronounced it closer to the way that I was saying it, but that was like old Hebrew. Now, let's be clear. I am not saying that is the correct way. This is just what someone said that should be investigated, that I might not be totally wrong, considering that information was coming from someone who was Jewish. So I'm going to leave it alone, and I'm going to pronounce it the way that everyone else does for now, until I'm told otherwise.
Alternatively, just potato pancakes might be a safer way to go for you.
I'll try to remember, but thank you for sending me some recipes. I'm excited.
I'm
Okay,
telling you, yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm doing my best. I'm hanging in there, but
totally fine. And me, it's like not taking cues, but yes, video games. And for those who are watching the podcast, and if hopefully if you follow us on social media, I got some really fun new headphones. Poor Suzanne is probably blinded by the light. So they're baby blue and they're cat ear headphones. And I think the company's like YOWU. Sorry, it's a newer company for me. It's so cute. It's like very like anime style. Anyway, going on about it. They're so cute. And the lights change on them. I'm very excited. They're a
they're
light
very
blue right
you,
now.
Mandy. They're so you. And you've had kitty ear
Yeah,
headphones before, and they looked awesome, but they were
that's
pink, right?
yeah, they were my pink ones, but unfortunately, Razer is very disappointing with their microphones. So let's see if these ones are better.
Spilling the tea.
Exactly. But speaking of headphones, which we play in, what's that? Video games. I have to tell you about my experience with Suzanne playing Ship of Fools. So, at the airing of this podcast, it would probably been about a week since we had played it on YouTube and Twitch. So if you want to check out the silliness, you can go to our channel, Salt and Sass Games, to check out those videos or the video. Yeah, Suzanne. So thanks for introducing me to that game. It's a lot of like hectic fun. I think I ran around saying, "Oh my gosh, lift the cannon. Come on, lift the cannon." And I'm like pressing A frantically on the Xbox controller and it was just it was hilarious, but it was a lot of fun. So, we're on the ship. We're trying to, kill the beasties in the water, but we each have like a cannon that we have to man, but you can pick up the cannon and move it to the other side of the ship to get the monsters. And let's just say it was not a good idea for me to be moving the cannon because I was just too slow. And unfortunately, we met up with some explosive, I guess, puffer fish.
Yeah, yeah.
And all I can remember is Suzanne saying, "Shoot, shoot, shoot." I'm like, "I'm shooting," but I was shooting the wrong one. It was a little too far ahead of the other ones. So it exploded, but not the other ones. They just exploded on our
Insta-death.
ship. Yeah.
Insta-death. It was ugly.
But it was a
But we
lot of
did,
fun.
Mandy, this is a game that I've been playing with my kiddo and a
Mhm.
couch co-op and just loving it. And we played online cooperatively and I thought it worked really well overall. And I got to say, you hadn't played it a ton and we still made it past the boss on the first level in one session. So I think we did okay.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it was good and like more playtime. Absolutely, I think I would have been better. But Ship of Fools, if you want to check it out, it is not free on Xbox. I know. I'm one of those that I just either play if it's free or I wait till it's on sale. But
I
I think
made
it's
her
on
buy
sale
it.
on Steam. But on Xbox, I think it is regular price for like $20 or so. And last thing I'm going to talk about video games. I know it's a short one today. I started playing the game Lost in Random. OMG. I am feeling this game. And I recommended it to Suzanne. I don't know if she's going to have a
Yeah,
chance to check it out.
you've sold me on it. I'm gonna download it tonight probably.
Yay! Like it has a board gamey vibe to it. So there's like a young girl in the game named Even who loses her sister Odd to the evil queen, and she sets out to finding her, meeting a new pal named Dicey, who yes, is a die. So
Wow.
I know it's like very literal, but it kind of works with the story. It has almost like that Tim Burton Nightmare Before Christmas y kind of vibe to it. So I kind
That's
of like
cool.
that, but it's not
Yeah.
super scary. It's just dark. And you battle using a die roll. So, you do your battles, but you don't have a weapon. In order for you to get a weapon, you got to roll a die in this kind of dream sequence. And then you get cards that come up, but you only have so much energy. And the energy that pops up is based on how many times you are able to hit or run through the enemies. They have these little crystals on their shoulder, or it might move to their waist, and you have to try and hit it to get those crystals, which will give you energy to spend your cards. So eventually you'll be able to meet up with a cabinet. I forget what his name is, and he has cards that you can buy to build up your deck. Yeah, I know. It's a
So
thing.
deck builder, yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, it's a deck builder. So with a bit of die rolling or dice rolling and deck building, yeah, it's a lot of fun. It does increase in difficulty for the baddies, so you definitely want to get those cards, get those like really high, heavy cards to take them down. But really enjoying it, and I think Suzanne will really like it too. So that's Lost in Random. It is free on Xbox on EA Games, and yeah, so there you go.
I'm downloading it. It sounds like fun. And if I'm under the weather and tomorrow ends up being a do nothing day, then playing a new game sounds like there are worse ways I could spend my day. That's for sure.
Yes, you're gonna love it.
Well, once again, it's a little light in the crowdfunding world in board games and tabletop games. So I think we'll just table that for next episode because things I've been hearing, about projects that are being planned for 2023. So I suspect we'll have lots to talk about in future episodes very, very soon, Mandy.
Yes, I agree.
In the meantime, I know that you got to play some games with your family, and in a basic complete reversal, we're on like opposite sides. So you played some games with family.
Yes.
Meanwhile, my family was like doing their own thing, not wanting to play board games. So I got some solo gaming in. So we'll bounce back and forth between like
Okay.
family stuff and solo games for games we've been playing.
No, for sure. And so this is going to be a departure from the normal weight of games that I review. And I review a bit of everything, but this one is specifically going to be a HABA game day because I played games with family members who were quite small. And I'm talking about children, if you haven't guessed it from that description. So the first game we played was Dragon's Breath, and this is designed by Gunter Burkhardt and Lena Burkhardt, and the art is by Daniel Dobner, and it's published by Haba Games. Plays 2 to 4 players, and it says about 15 to 20 minutes. With kids, I'd say a little longer, but that's about the range, and it costs about $35 Canadian. So it's super easy to play, but let me set the picture for you. There's a dragon. And this is literally how I was playing with the kids. It's breathing its fire and it's melting the ice. You're like, melting ice. You're gonna actually use the game box, and a little tray kind of goes in the game box which covers the base of it, and there's some holes in there, and that's where jewels are gonna fall into when they come out of this created kind of, I don't know what you would call it. It almost looks like a cup when you look at it, but it's not. It's actually rings that you stack on top of each other, and then once the rings are stacked, you pour in some crystals. Each player is assigned a crystal at the beginning of the game. This is one way of playing it. It's just easier when the children are younger. And that's the color crystal that they're looking for. So, when they're taking off their their circle, which is like the ice on their turn, and the crystals fall. If they have an orange token, they're looking for orange ones and hoping that every other player kind of goes down in the hole because then they don't get those crystals. And the player at the end, when you've taken off all the rings, you're going to count up all your crystals that are in your little home that you've put in your home and see who has the most. There are a variety of ways to play. We played the easier way just because I was playing with like 4-year-olds and stuff. So we put the crystals face down and let them pick one and then flip it over and see, okay, that's the color crystal you're looking for. But I believe there is another one where you can actually, beginning of each round, you can pick a crystal. So it changes. So
Right. That's how when I played Dragon's Breath with my kids,
right.
which they were really into a few years ago, that's how we would play. And it's a little more strategic. And quite frankly, for an adult playing, it makes it a lot more interesting because you basically get to look at the crystals that are on top of the rings, and then you get to think, there's a lot of purple crystals and a couple of blue ones, so I'm going to claim purple this round. And then you remove the ring and you get to, get the crystals you get. So yeah, there's definitely, I think you probably played perfectly for the age group you were with. I prefer it with the more strategic
Sure.
element where you're kind of calling the crystals,
Mhm.
and it's really entertaining as a game, even as an adult that way.
Yeah, so I mean, I have to say, I had fun with it, even though we were playing like the simplified version.
Sure.
And I was trying to kind of pare down my collection, especially for children's games. Like I like to keep a few on hand for when my nephews and stuff come over. But I have a lot, and I'm like, they're not getting played. So I was like, oh, maybe this is one that, I can leave with my brother's family. And then I was like, no, I actually kind of want to keep this one.
You took it back home with you.
I did. I'm like, I have to take pictures of it because I'm going to be talking about it on the podcast. So I need some pictures. I'll give it back, I promise. So I just might buy them their own copy because I had a lot of fun with it. So Dragon's Breath for me, I like the fact that it gave you options for younger children, but you could also, as you were saying, add that strategy for older children as well. And we played, like I played, my mom played, some of the 4-year-olds played. So it was a mishmash and everybody had a really good time. And I encourage banter. Or I encourage you taking on that role of the dragon. And I literally had that voice. Okay, it's your turn. The dragon's in front of you. Ah, breathing the fire. You got to melt the ice. They were very excited about that. So Dragon's Breath.
Excellent, excellent. I love that you kind of sold them on it that
Yes.
way. That's so
I
awesome.
think I did.
Well, first up for me is Copperdale. Copperdale is a quote unquote roll and write game from Small Box Games, designed by John Clotis, who does all the Small Box Games. Basically, that's his publishing label. And the art on this one is by Katie Ponder. Now, Copperdale is just one of these games that was crowdfunded as a print and play game. So I backed it on Kickstarter a while ago and have been playing it a ton, and figured for $5 P&P, I better share this information with y'all. Now, I've been a fan of small box games for a long, long time. John does interesting game designs, and I think that a few of his titles have been picked up and like republished under larger things, but typically I just like following small box games and see what he comes up with, because he always
Right.
comes up with some creative, puzzly, clever games that are in small boxes. So,
That makes sense.
but here he comes with, as far as I know, his first roll and write. Oh, hey, oh. So it's a really simple sheet. You get a single, it's a half sheet of
Oh.
letter size paper, long wise. And then you play it with a standard deck of playing cards. Take
Oh.
out the jokers. Yeah, exactly. It's great. And any standard deck of playing cards you have, you can play it with this game. A pencil, a pen, whatever you got, and you're to the races. Now, I up-leveled my experience because I'm not sure if we talked about it in the podcast before, Mandy, but Beth Sobel, beloved board game illustrator, talent,
Yes.
skilled painter. Oh my gosh, amazing artist, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
She actually recently did a crowdfunding campaign for a deck of playing cards that she illustrated the entire thing, called the
They're
River
so
and Stone deck.
pretty.
And of course, I had to back for a bunch of those decks because I like to play things like Pinochle that you require multiple decks, that kind of thing. And these illustrations are just of like each suit kind of has a theme, like an ocean theme or a forest theme, that kind of thing.
Right.
And it's gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. So I played Copperdale with my River and Stone deck, and it did up-level the experience significantly for me. So about Copperdale, great. So you have this half sheet of paper, and it's split into 3 columns or 3 areas. You're going to shuffle up the cards, pull 12 to the right, and that's kind of your game timer. It also has the cards in that deck have a value in play.
Mhm.
And then on your round, during a round, you're going to take the top of the deck, the regular deck, and assign it to one of those 3 columns. Then you take another one, assign it to one of the remaining 2, and then the last card you draw just goes to the column you didn't already have a card assigned to. After you assign all of those cards, then you get to mark a section in that column using the value of the card that you played. Now, a lot of times you can use either the value or the suit, which is
Right.
really, really cool, right? Cards have 2 elements to it, a value and a suit, and Copperdale takes advantage of that. Ultimately, it does fall into kind of what roll and writes do, where you are marking off stuff to try to get other stuff and combo your way and graduate different sections as efficiently as you can. So, in the left hand section, you're trying to unlock special powers or special scoring. In the center section, you're doing like what they call estates and districts, but that helps you on the right side with population and borders, right? So, it's kind of this little mini Civ roll and write, flip and write game that you got going on. And you play through 12 rounds. And at the end of the 12 rounds, you just calculate your score, see how you did. That's the whole game. It plays pretty quickly,
Mhm.
and it is a breeze to set up and put away, right? You just shuffle up the cards, pull off 12, and you're off to the races. And I think
Right.
that that is a huge reason I've been playing it so much is that ease of just popping it down and knocking out a quick game. So, for what it's worth, there's that. Now, there are some elements to the game, along with kind of the fact that you're using a deck of cards, right? You know the odds, you know
Right.
what cards are in that deck. So, all of a sudden, again, Mandy, you and I are big trick taking game fans.
Mhm.
So we tend to count cards, right? Well, here we go. Because you know what the deck is, you can kind of count cards. You're mentally tracking what has been played. Because sometimes you have a section, right, that you have to play a lower card, mark a lower card value, and then a higher card value.
Right.
Well, if you're at the early part of the game and you put down an 8, well, what are the odds that you're going to get a higher value card early game versus later in the game? Oh, you've already seen a bunch of 9s and 10s played. Ooh, maybe I shouldn't start with an 8 in that column, right?
Right. Right.
Or in the center column, you want to hit some pairs and districts. Well, you just have a 6 in your hand, but you've already seen 2 other 6s come out. You don't want to assign it there because you know the chances of you getting another 6 are pretty low. I
Mhm.
really love what that adds to playing Copperdale. The ability to kind of gauge your odds there is very, very cool. But a twist that is thrown in is that the value of a face card is 1
Mhm.
plus the population track for that suit. So there are 4 population tracks on the right side of the sheet, and you can advance them through play. So if you have 4 hearts marked off
Right.
and the Queen of Hearts comes up, that is worth 5.
Oh.
Well, all of a sudden, you were counting cards, but then you have to take into account how you're working your population track and what your face card odds are as well. That little mathematic twist about how you have some control over what the value of these face cards are going to be is immensely strategic and interesting and adds such a great twist to this gameplay. I love that element for sure. It is a solo. It is intended to be a solo game, but you
Okay.
can play it multiplayer. I'm sure there's somebody's written up like fancy multiplayer rules, but as far as I'm concerned, you can play it multiplayer just by having somebody control a deck,
Mhm.
and then everybody just writes what the card is at the top of their column and then assigns them together and then erases at the top. Psh, no problem, and then just compete for whoever gets a higher score. Right?
Right.
No big deal. So Copperdale is $5. You can purchase it directly from Small Box Games website now. $5 for a print and play. It comes with a full color sheet or a low ink version that's just the outlines. It's also really nice. I appreciate it when Roll and Write print and play makers offer that as an option.
Yeah.
And it is a really, really cool roll and write game. I gotta say, he has done so much with such a small amount of real estate because of the way that the suits work and because of the different options. And I didn't go into detail on every section, but
Mhm.
the way that the sections interlock or support and advance each other is very clever. It's a great roll and write game. I highly recommend it. And at $5 for the PNP, I mean, I don't want to be insulting, but if you've got $5 to spare, this is a solid way to spend it. So that is Copperdale from Small Box Games.
I'm pretty sure I have this one. I know I looked and go, ooh, that looks interesting. And I
Probably
mean,
something you backed. It sounds like something you would back.
oh, I printed them all. I just have yet to play them.
Well,
And
if you need to teach, I'm happy to walk you through it.
which is great. And I collect card decks. So I'm hoping that if I get to play it, I can play with one of my really cute decks that I
Put
have
it to
recently
use. It's
purchased.
perfect.
Exactly. Well, the last game I'm going to talk about is another Habit game, and I believe many moons ago I had spoken about the other version of this game, but Unicorn Glitterluck Cloud Crystals. I think the one I reviewed before was the Cloud Stacking one, so this one's a little bit different. This is designed by Kristen Mukel. Art is by Stephanie Rowe, and published by Habba. It's for 2 to 4 players, and it plays in about 10 minutes, again, with children. A little longer than 10 minutes, but fun was to be had. I didn't write the price down here, but I think it was around the $20-ish point. It's a little less expensive than the other one. So in this game, the box, first of all, is pink. So it doesn't fall in line with the whole yellow Habba like the other one was the yellow box. This is a pink box. So anything that has the unicorn kind of vibe to it has the pink box. And of course, the little kids at the table, all of them, oh, it's so pretty. They loved the box. So in this game, you open it up, you're like, okay, crystals. Of course, that catches their eye. Then you got these like chonky dice that you're rolling. One is going to denote your movement. Another one is when you land on a specific space on the board, you're going to get that many crystals or potentially nothing. It's a little cupcake and you're just having a break enjoying that little cupcake. And on the board, there's some rainbows. So if you land on a rainbow, you just kind of slide down to another space, like a bit of a shortcut. And the goal of the game, right, is to try and get the most crystals. And whoever finishes the game gets the, like, I think it's 4 or 5 crystals at the end. And then that person who gets there first gets those crystals. And when you flip the board, so at the end of the game, when you flip the board, you can take the crystals and find your color, find the color of the unicorn you were using, and put your crystals on it. And instead of counting, so maybe some children are not at the stage where they can count, you can just put all the crystals on the corresponding track and you can see who has the longest track and that player wins. So it's very, very, very simple. So this game, super cute. Now, I am not the audience for this game. So for me, even as an adult, like the first one I talked about, Dragon's Breath, I thought it was really cute. I'd actually play that,
Yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah, this one I would play if the children I was playing with were really small. It's very simple. So for me, it's not overly exciting. It's cute, but I'm like one play and I'm good. But children like to play it several times, so still fine. But it is definitely on the simpler side. I think I like the cloud stacking one, but again, you're just doing a little bit more with that one. It's a bit more dexterous, but again, not for the age group that I'm speaking about. So I was playing with mostly 4-year-olds, and then there were a few 7-year-olds thrown in the mix. The 7-year-olds obviously were not too into this one. They preferred the previous one. Again, it's just very straightforward and simple, but it's cute. So a lot of the younger kids really enjoyed it. So I liked it for that kind of 4-year-old, 3-4-year-old group, 5. But anything older than that, they might get a little bored with it. So Unicorn Glitterluck Cloud Crystals, really cute, really nice if you're looking for that simple game for the younger audience.
No, it's perfect. I mean, and it sounds like a really fun way to get young kids
Yes.
engaged in playing board games, and I love that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, another solo play that I was really excited to get to the table, Empire. This is designed by Todd Sanders, who did both the design and the graphic design and art,
Oh,
and
nice.
it's published by AV Studio, which is Alban Viard's publishing label. And I'm a huge fan of Alban Viard. I
Me
mean, and I
too.
know you are too, Mandy, with games like Clinic and Small
Mhm.
City and things like that, right?
Absolutely.
So what they did is they crowdfunded a mini series of games a while ago that they called the Nano 9 series. And what these are little solo, I think primarily, maybe a couple of them play two player, I can't remember offhand. Uh, Little games that are comprised of 9 cards, 9 D6s,
Mhm.
and 9 cubes. Those are and a rule book, right? Those are the components in the game. Now, the cards are actually more like postcard size. They're not playing cards, they're postcards. So, 9 postcards, 9 dice, 9 cubes make a game. But it's Todd Sanders and Alban Viard, and they tend to like Alban just makes banana pants mammoth games, like incredible games,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And Todd actually has a great record. So Todd is the designer of a game called Mr. Cabbagehead's Garden, which is a phenomenal game. And he also does a whole bunch of solo play games with a smaller deck of cards that are just brain burners,
Mhm.
right? So this is such a cool format limitation to see these designers play around with. And so I backed it and you get all 3 games in like a little box, a little
Mhm.
sleeve and there you go. So I've only played Empire so far. The other 2 are
Okay.
coming up soon. But Empire is a industry game, I guess. So what happens is the cards represent different buildings and they all have a resource track of some sort. There's 3 different resources and then capital or money, because it is that kind of game.
Fancy.
Empire, after all, right? And then you start off with a starter building that has all 3 tracks on it. One card is the market board, and you're assigning dice all over the place. But typically in this game, dice represent workers, and the value of the die is how many workers are at that building working and
Okay.
being productive and supporting capitalism. Huzzah. And then the cubes serve as trackers on these resource tracks, as on all of the different cards. So basically, what you're trying to do is build out your empire, your industry empire, gain resources, and then sell those resources for capital
Mhm.
and or points, which are not the same thing. You can get points with capital, but they're not the same because you can spend capital to reinvest in your industry, whereas once you lock in points, you've got the points. But
Right.
ultimately, you win the game or you score the game based on points, not on the capital that you have. So
Okay.
on your turn, you can take an action. Typically, it's something like gain another building, produce resources, sell resources, something like that. Your first action is free, but then you have to spend capital if you want to take more actions in a turn,
Oh
which you will
boy.
find you often want to do. So you all of a sudden you realize how important having money is. Funny how that works. And every round, when you're looking at resources at the beginning of the turn, there's a die associated with the market board, and that will
Right.
determine the value
Mhm.
of a resource that turn. So some turns, the blue resource will be worth
Okay.
3. You have to sell 3 to get the capital,
Mhm.
or on some turns there's only be 1. So you're kind of there's some randomization there that really helps the market work there.
Mhm.
The game plays in 30 turns, so you're going to be doing that. Take a turn, do whatever actions you want to or can afford to. Sometimes an event will happen, either driven by the market track or by the cards themselves, and play 30 turns and see how many points you can score.
Okay.
And that's the game. There's other little details to it, but at the high level, that's how it goes. Um, it's great. It's super solid for a solo experience, and unsurprisingly to me, seeing what a designer can do with so few components is
Right.
very, very cool. There's like little details in the game design where you randomize the building cards and lay them out in a market row, and then they never move. And where you buy the card from matters because it can trigger an event that's adjacent to it. But of course, that's going to change as you randomize the market from game to game
Mhm.
and can make it feel very different. In this small game, decisions, like everything feels very tight and decisions feel very impactful, which is what you want in a solo
Yeah.
game. You want to feel that tension. And it also ramps. You do kind of feel like you're building an engine if you're clever. I've also played games where I'm sitting there tearing my hair out going, why didn't I buy that building instead 12 turns
Yep.
ago? Now I'm doomed, that kind of thing. So I gotta say, if you are a solo gamer and enjoy those kinds of things, Empire or I suspect the Nano 9 series in general
Right.
is worth
Yeah.
checking out. But I've really, really been enjoying my plays of Empire, and it just makes me excited to try the other games in this series even more.
So this is a game that might reward my cheapness in games. I hate spending money in games. I'm not joking. If there's like a free thing that I can take, I will just take that free thing and work my strategy around the free thing.
Sure. No, absolutely. And Mandy, there is a manager die that you set to 6 at the beginning of the game, and that is 6 free extra actions that you can
Ooh.
use through the game. That's an incredibly strategic element. Like, the timing of when you use those free actions is huge in this game. So for you, along with your, 30 actions
Right.
during the game plus those 6, you could have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I want to know if anybody else is like me. Like in real life, so not cheap. I literally. Anyway, Suzanne knows. If I want something, I just buy it. Do I really need all of these electronics? No,
You're
but I
also a
have
very
them all.
generous person too.
I try, but when I play games, I like to hold on to my money.
Your inner Scrooge comes out.
It does. I don't know why. So Empire might be a thing for me. I might have to try this.
It's one that you might actually enjoy, I think.
Okay, we'll give it a whirl.
Well, coming up, if you listened to episode 8, you heard our friend Aaron Wilson talk about his ideas on how board game principles could improve the NFL. It's a little two-parter. Here we are, episode 9, and Aaron is back to wrap that up. So let's see what other ideas Aaron has.
I'm Aaron Wilson, the designer of Sovereign Skies, a co-founder of Gravitation Games, and a co-host on the Cardboard Mechanics podcast. Today I'm going to continue with how the NFL could improve gameplay with a little board game love. In part 1, I talked about the issues with what constitutes a catch and how that could be simplified with a sand timer, the digital millisecond version of course, and how overtime could be eliminated with stat-based tie-breaking conditions. Now in part 2, I have a couple more ideas on how to expand on a coach's challenge and some special abilities. For my next couple of suggestions to improve the excitement and gameplay value in the NFL product, I'm going to take this to a very board game dreamy place. One thing we think a lot about when designing board games are incentives. We want to reward players for risky, bold moves and big, exciting turns. The NFL has a ton of risk-reward moments. That's why fans love it, or hate it, but knowing what we know about board game incentives, could we inject more fun and interesting decisions beyond the ones they already have in place? Well, I think so. Currently, teams are allowed 2 coaches' challenges per game, and a third if the first 2 are successful. For instance, a coach may use his little red flag to challenge where a ref spots a ball after a play, especially if it's short of the line to gain, or whether or not an incomplete pass was in fact a catch and a fumble. A failed challenge will result in a loss of a timeout. Each team only gets 3 per half, so the repercussions are clear. Usually, 2 or 3 challenges are sufficient, but what about when they aren't? Fans often express so much anger and frustration as they witness obvious unfair calls by the refs that sometimes go unchallenged due to the lack of additional challenges for the teams. In board game design, we often consider safety nets for mistakes made by new players or unfortunate events that leave players destitute after failure of a big risk. We want them to have fun, feel like they're still in the game. Ran out of money? That's okay. You can use points instead. I wouldn't recommend it, but if that's the only choice you have, maybe it'll get you out of a jam. A couple of steps back to go 5 forward is all you need sometimes to feel loved. I think you know where I'm going with this. Out of challenges, coach? That's okay. You can just risk a point. If you're right, nothing lost. But if you're wrong, well, what's a single point gonna hurt? Actually, it can hurt a lot. It's the NFL. But big risk, big reward, right? Lastly, I think we should offer secret objectives and some bonus abilities into the game. I mean, why not? These little touches can make a small turn so much bigger and more dramatic in a board game. Imagine getting a 5-yard bonus you could use later for kicking a 50-yard or more field goal, or getting a 5th down bonus for making a one-handed catch in a 30-yard or more passing play. There are just so many possibilities. I maybe better not give away all my ideas right here and now. I want to have more to talk about when the NFL calls me. I'm Aaron Andrew Wilson, and if you liked this, you can also hear me ramble on about board game mechanics and design with John Prather on the Cardboard Mechanics podcast. or just hit me up on Twitter at Internet's Magic. Thanks for listening.
Well, those are certainly some ideas. I gotta say, the idea of like side goals or side achievements that
I
is funny.
I think it's great. I mean, as someone who used to play football, I'm all about getting those extra points, those extra things. Come on, it makes you, it pumps you up to get that.
But would you risk points for a challenge, for extra challenges?
In a sports, no, you're in the lead. You just do what you got to do and get to that end zone, and that's it.
I think that one's like I think that one's like one of his most compelling ideas, to be honest. So
That's fair.
I don't know, Aaron. We'll see if the NFL is knocking on your door anytime soon for that one.
Never know.
All right, Mandy. I'm hungry for dessert. I need me some game pie.
Yes, and you can always tell when I throw the ideas out for game pie because they're
I love your
so
idea.
random. They're so random. So this time I was like, New Year's. I mean, by the time this airs, we will be in the new year, but recording it, we're not yet. So I said, why don't we look at games we like that have happy, new, or year, or something celebrate-y in the title?
Yes, and when you tossed that idea up, I was doing something else. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And then I went and looked at my collection and had a moment of, oh no, I have no games that fit this criteria. So I kind of took a parallel path here. Well, you'll see.
No, it's good. It's good because I think I kind of stuck with the like Happy New Year kind of thing, but then you did the more celebrating in the title thing. So I think it'll even out. You get a couple slices of different pie here. So
it's like having a pecan pie and a pumpkin pie dessert. It's perfect.
Exactly. Did you say pecan?
Pecan. Pecan?
No, it wasn't the word. I was thinking about the pie. I don't know how I feel about. I know. You know what? It depends who makes it. Because I find sometimes.
Some can be a little gloopy.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of that. I like
gotcha.
the crispness. I don't like it too smushy. So.
Well, you're good. I'm with you, sister.
Okay. All right. Just checking. Okay. So the first one on my list is Newton. Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be one of those lists.
It has new in the title. That was a bit of a cheat, but that's okay.
I mean, good game.
It is good. And you know what? I haven't played it in so long, so you're like, why is it on the list? When I did play it, it was rather enjoyable. I really liked the fact that you had a board that you were controlling all the things on. I'm one of those people that gets immersed with actions in my board, which sometimes is to my detriment. But in this game, I found that it kept me engaged enough that I actually also wanted to win. So you're like, what does that even mean? Well, now you're going to have to find out. But Newton for me is one that I really enjoyed when it came out. I know a couple of my friends enjoyed it and then they were like, yeah, it's fine now. But I still really enjoy it. I don't know, Suzanne, is that one that you like? I think so.
Yeah, I think Newton is a solid game and definitely, I not that I organize my collection this way. I don't know why I'm coming up with this thought now, but I don't feel
you're having a
great.
Mandy moment.
It's like a second tier game for me.
Okay.
So if I had to cull down, like, is it a top 50 game for me?
Sure.
No. But is it a really, really good game? Absolutely.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah. So I went in a slightly different way because I realized if I was going to do happy, new, or year in the title, all of my games would be things that have the words New York in the title. I have so many games that have the words New York in the title. And I felt like that wasn't where we were going. So I went a different direction. First up for me, Fireworks. Yay, Fireworks. Fireworks is a game designed by Azad Chen, who is a designer out of Japan that I have loved for years and years and years and just does cute, creative games. And for a while, Renegade Games partnered with Azad to bring their games over to the United States. So you could also get Fireworks here. Fireworks is a tile laying game in which you're getting these hexagons that have different colors of fireworks and you're trying to align them and score points that way. But the way you can get them is that the box is part of the game and you throw all these tiles in and then you like drop a tile in the pile of tiles in the box and then see what you can flip over and get. So It's got that dexterity, kinetic energy to it as well, and which is very fireworksy. It's very thematic. And what's a celebration quite like fireworks? So
There's
fireworks is my first slice of, we'll call it New Year's celebration pie.
there's a song. Baby, you're a firework. Yeah, it's Katy Perry. Makes me go, That's all I know. I'm sorry. That's all I know. Close enough. Okay. Next on my list is Civilization New Dawn. I have to tell you, when I got this game, I played it a lot. What?
I've never played it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm glad you like it though. That's cool.
Well, because I'm not really I haven't played really Civ games. That's not. It's not that I don't like them. They're just not games I've played a lot of. And this one, I think they were trying to make it a little bit more accessible because some of those Civ games can be hours long, and not everybody has time to dedicate to that. So this one plays in like a 2 to 3 hour kind of time frame. And in a lot of these Civ games, right, you're trying to build out your area or take over areas with your buildings or things like that. And I really, yes, there's a little bit of battle happening, but I didn't feel like it was. I was going to say I didn't think it was mean, but I guess it is mean if you're taking over their area. But I didn't feel bad, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but I think the reason I like this game is because it gave you the idea of how a Civ game plays. Again, it's not like a full-on Civilization game, but it gives you the kind of general idea of how it plays, and you get a feel for it. And then if you wanted to continue to maybe those bigger Civ games, this might be like a door to open you to that. So Civilization New Dawn, I really enjoyed this game.
Mandi, next thing you know, you're going to be at a convention trying to get into games of Mega Civ.
Oh my goodness. I don't dip the toe in.
I would love, that is probably a convention experience I should put on my convention bucket list, just because I don't know if it feels like an experience I just want to have the experience of.
Sure.
But with the right group of people.
Well,
it's not something I would ever play with strangers because
that's what it comes down to. The right
I need to be with strong friends that the friendship can survive the gameplay. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Like if
it
might get
to
a little
violence.
Little spicy.
Well, next slice up for me is a little card game called Yakata Bune. Now, Yakata Bune is published by Polar Pond Games, which is a sub-label or sister label to Analog Lunchbox Games, which is one of my favorite publishers out of Japan. And Yakata Bune is all about putting on a fireworks show. And it's a 2-player game, and it's kind of a lane battler where you're setting up boats and then you're launching fireworks on your side of that boat, and you're trying to put on the most impressive fireworks display. But there is a lot of twisty, interesting stuff going on because you want to put on a good show, and there's kind of a performance, quote unquote, element in which cards you're playing. But then cards you play have actions that your opponents can use.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be really careful about that. And there are limits on what you can play to different lanes. So there's a lot to think about in a relatively small card game, right? It's just a little tiny box. A lot going on, a little brain burning, all about putting on a good fireworks show. And, I think of fireworks and celebration on New Year's. So there you go, Yakata Bune.
I have not played this game before, but it's about fireworks. I like it. I might have to give this a whirl. My next slice of pie, well, I thought we'd do something a little different, and I went with Funkoverse. So, I know, you're thinking, how does this work?
Happy New Year.
Okay, let's...
Funkoverse. Take me on the journey, Mandi. Help me understand.
Sure, it's spelled Funkoverse.
Oh my gosh, you went with fun. That's adorable.
A little cheat there, but it's there. So the Funkoverse game, for those who don't know, there are quite a few of them, and they have different characters that you can use, like, those little Funko Pop dolls that you've seen around. They're literally in the game. So I think I have like Golden Girls, I have Rick and Morty, I think I have a whole bunch of them, Game of Thrones. And what you're trying to do, it's another one of those games where you can play with teams, like another person. So it's like a 2 against 2 experience, and you're trying to capture certain things that are on the board before your other players battle it out with you, because they can, kind of take you out sort of for a minute to come back into the game, but you're trying to collect all the things on the board, and whoever collects so many of these, I think it's like these gems, wins the game. So it's a bit of, I was going to say there's a bit of strategy going on there. I don't know what was trying to say. But yes, the bird's
I
great.
don't know
'Cause
what you're trying to say
I don't even know. But your characters each have like a special ability they can do. So you can work with the person you're playing with to kind of defeat that other team. And what's really cool, you can swap in different characters. So if you can play on the Golden Girls map, but then pop in like, Marvel or DC or something, or Rick and Morty. So you can mix up the characters and it's really fun.
Right.
Yeah. So Funkoverse, I liked it because at first I didn't think I would. I'm like, a lot of these games, you look at it and go, yeah, I don't know. This looks like it's going to be terrible. I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't terrible. And it was a lot of fun. So Funkoverse, I have quite a few of these. Golden Girls, one of my favorites. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Golden Girls are very you.
Hey.
All right. Well, sticking with my fireworks, and it's funny, it's a Renegade game again, I guess. There's actually not a ton of fireworks games there, which I think is a super
No.
fun theme.
Yeah.
So,
I think
hey-o.
so.
But Lanterns Dice, a roll and write game.
Yes,
Oh.
this is a good one.
Lanterns Dice Lights in the Sky. So, Lanterns is a tile laying game in which you're putting on a lantern festival and you're floating lanterns in the water for that festival. And it's beautiful and lovely, and it's a great game. Well, Lanterns Dice is all about also launching fireworks in the sky, but so it works. Lanterns Dice has you rolling dice, and you get a sheet with kind of different colored sections on it, and you're just kind of marking them off and trying to draw shapes around them, polyominoes around them as you go, to set off great fireworks shows. So, Lanterns Dice Lights in the Sky definitely fits my New Year's celebration.
Okay.
pie.
I have this one and I also enjoy it. So that's a very good pick. I like this one a lot. Well, my final slice of pie was actually taught to me by Suzanne. So I have the newer version, but I haven't quite played that yet, but Factory Funner. So I believe you taught this to, yes, and there's fun in the title. I believe you taught it to me with some people we'd met on the Dice Tower Cruise a few years ago. And
Probably, yeah.
I don't generally like speed games or games where I have to work against a
Yeah,
timer.
real time. Yeah.
I just get so stressed out. But we had a really good time, I thought, with this one where you're taking, and I'm trying to remember if it was like pipes or like you're trying to make sure your machine, I guess, works. So you have to
Yeah.
make sure that connections are connected to the right areas in order for them to work. And you're timed, right? So you can sit here and you can't ponder for too long. But it was a lot of fun. And I think what made it even more hilarious, I believe the person we were playing with, he didn't even tell us until after he was an engineer. So I remember he won, and I'm like, well, hello. So Factory Funner is one where it is a speed element to it, but I actually really enjoyed it. Now, because of my ADHD brain, for those who have that, this might be one to kind of get those juices flowing in your mind, and you're not, well, you might be stressed in the minute, but then you're going to have fun. So Factory Funner.
I gotta say, I think my fireworks approach is a little closer to the New Year's
Whoa.
than the fun.
Whoa, let's not make any
Because we could do a game pie just on fun games.
No.
if
snap
we're gonna do
judgment
that.
here. We can also do that, but I feel like
This could be a yes and situation. Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to rain on your pie. I apologize. Well, and we'll see how you feel about this last one. So, my last slice of Happy New Year and fun celebration game pie, Dr. Eureka.
Okay, what?
So, Dr. Eureka is a game in which you get clear plastic, quote unquote, test tubes and some different colored balls. And a card is flipped over and it has a pattern that you have to make your test tubes match. So maybe one test tube needs orange, orange, green, and another one needs green, blue, blue. But the way you set up the balls that you have in the test tube are random. So it's one of those logic puzzles where you have to move balls from one test tube to another and all this other stuff. And you're pouring them, right? And there's some lab theme. It's Dr. Eureka. It's some like atoms in a test tube kind of theme there to make that work. But because you're pouring, there's a dexterity element. You're pouring these plastic balls between the test tubes. And you know what happens when you're playing that kind of game? And you know what happens on New Year's, Mandy?
Yes.
You drop a ball.
Oh my gosh. Okay, wait a second. Wow, I thought I was the queen of the stretch. The crown has been passed.
Yeah. So the last slice of my Happy New Year game pie is Dr. Eureka because you drop a ball, I guarantee it.
Wow.
Happy New Year!
Wah, wah, wah.
I told you I wasn't feeling good today, Mandy. This is what you get. This is what you get.
Oh, at least it's not me today.
A little bit of you.
I'm just...
Fun coverse. I mean, come on. Hello. Woo! Actually, we should
I know, right?
think with having served up a rollicking game pie, we will call this an episode because I don't know if we keep on recording much more, Mandy. I think it's gonna go real sideways, real fast.
I almost
based on
busted
how we're
into Golden Girls. Well, I'm gonna do it now. Thank you for being a friend. Travel
Bum, bum,
down
bum,
the
bum.
road and back again. What does it go? Heart is true. You're a friend and a confidant. Do, do. Okay, I won't sing the whole song. And if you threw a party. Okay, I'm done. I'm done.
And invited everyone you knew.
Yes. You
Yes,
would
you
be.
would see.
Okay.
Oh, folks, we love you. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you very, very much.
Yes.
If you have comments on the singing or opinions about dropping balls, you are welcome to email us at saltandsassgames@gmail.com.
Mhm.
Or you can join us on our Board Game Geek Guild, guild number 4131, and chime in with your opinions there. Actually, Mandy, I don't know, you did see, because you chimed in, there was a really fun thread about the video game recommendations,
Yeah.
and I got a great recommendation out of that. So
Yes.
jump on in, because people are starting to chat in there, and it's really, really fun.
Yeah.
Or you can always just hit us up on the socials, right, Mandy?
Yeah. So, well, before we get to the socials, you can, well, some of you are probably watching it here on YouTube, and we're also on Twitch, where we also play some video games. So that's Salt and Sass Games. On the socials, you can find us at Salt and Sass Games on Twitter. So that's Salt and Sass Games. And you can find me at 613 Mandy on Instagram and Twitter.
And that's Mandy with a...
Oh, yes, Mandy with an I.
And you can find me on every social media platform out there at 425 Suzanne.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I reactivated my Tumblr. Yeah, so same name.
Oh,
613
hey-o.
Mandy. It's been there for
Nice.
a while.
As always, it is a pleasure and privilege to be part of your extended board gaming family. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Thank you so much for putting up with our shenanigans. My apologies if I stretched it a little bit there. And yes, before anybody messages me, I understand that the whole ball dropping thing can be considered a pun.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not feeling well. It is what it is.
I love
All
it.
right. Hopefully we will see you next episode, episode 10. Until then, I hope that you stay happy and healthy and hydrated and play some board games.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. If you'd like to support the podcast, please check us out on coffee.com, Salt and Sass Games. Thank you for your support. Salt and Sass is produced with love by Suzanne and Mandy, and we'll be back next episode with more salt, more sass, and more games.